If you're joining me, I'm going to go ahead and get started on kind of sharing with you guys this webinar here that's being recorded. So, this is the Women's Anxiety Wellness Intensives that Trice Energy is providing. I'm Victoria Valdez. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in providing mental health counseling services to children, teens, and adult women. Specifically, I have specialized training in anxiety, helping with anxiety, depression, ADHD, as well as trauma. So, a little bit about Trice Energy Counseling is that I've had this group practice for almost August of 2025, will be 2 years. So, we're fairly new. And we have several different therapists that can work with families, couples, children, teens, and adults as well. In addition to being a group practice owner and a therapist, I'm also a parent coach. I'm working on my ADHD coaching certification as well. I'm 4 levels of brain spotting trained, and I lead the Spanish speaking therapist group, Spanish speaking and Latinx therapist group for the state of Tennessee. So I'm definitely a great resource for anyone who is trying to get connected with a therapist who is Latinx or speaks Spanish. I also provide therapy in Spanish as well. And in addition to being a therapist and a group practice owner, I'm a mom of 3. I'm neurodivergent myself. I have ADHD, and 2 of my kiddos do as well. I love creative writing. I love Latin dancing, bachata, merengue, cumbia, salsa, and love creative writing and doing things outdoors. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the meat of this presentation here. So anxiety in the United States. So there definitely is a lot of anxiety in the United States. It is the most common mental health struggle in the United States, and it affects approximately 40 million people 18 and older. We know that 23% of women in the United States have been diagnosed with an anxiety disorder. We know that women are 2 times as likely to have an anxiety disorder than men within their lifetime. And the good news is anxiety is actually one of the easier things to treat, and always remembering that prevention is key. So if there are ways that we can notice that we're dealing with worry and learn how to manage it before it becomes a clinical diagnosis, then that's the best way, right? Prevention is key. So just some common worry symptoms that can be, you could be dealing with all of these or just a few of these. So, just in a nutshell, it could be feeling irritable or nervous, restlessness, feeling wound up or on edge, easily fatigued, difficulty to concentrate. People talk about having mental fog or your mind going blank, and sleep issues, difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep, muscle tensions. A lot of times people don't realize how much tension and tightness our body is carrying because of anxiety, headaches, nausea, stomach aches, just stomach discomforts, all over body pain, negative thought perspectives, right? Because anxiety, I always say, like, anxiety, doesn't usually have anything like fun or nice to say. It's all of this worry, right? And then additionally, that a lot of my clients who have ended up in my office are dealing with hives. And they went through all of these medical appointments to figure out that their hives were actually a direct response to the high levels of cortisols in their body having like a histamine effect where they're having bursting out in hives. Not unusual for someone who's dealing with anxiety. So, a little bit about the worry cycle. I love talking about the worry cycle because education is powerful. Just even understanding how it works can help you learn how to manage your anxiety in a different way. So, this is how worry works in the body and the brain, and this is our worry cycle. So, you have some type of trigger, and then the body and brain become scared, right? So you have a worry trigger. So that's a situation or an activity that's generating worry thoughts. And that activates our feelings of fear. And then our body's fear response is the response. Then we go into part 2, or in our cycle here, is activating plan avoid. So our body and brain is so good at protecting ourselves, but not always in the most helpful way. And so what happens when we go into plan, activate, plan, avoid, is that our brain and our body do whatever it is necessary to avoid or get out of that potential threat that the worry is telling us to do, right? So it'll avoid. And the third thing that happens in the worry cycle is you get that that temporary relief is initiated when you avoid. So now the brain and body are experiencing that relief from the situation and reinforcing that avoiding is the best solution, but it's actually not. Um, so what happens in step 4 of the worry cycle is that the worry cycle, it becomes more powerful, the anxiety, and so our worry beast has gotten fed very well, and it's growing bigger and bigger, and that is the cycle of anxiety. Okay, so this is why here at Trice Energy we provide women's wellness or women's anxiety relief wellness intensive offerings. So this is where you're probably wondering, well, what's this intensive wellness offering? What is this about, right? So if you're doing a longer duration, which is about 3 hours of a starting point is a 3 hour starting point. They can be longer, but if you're doing that, then your typical what's happening in that type of session is that you'll have a type of 15-20 minute discovery call if you need to ask more questions or figure out if you're a good fit. And then after, if you've decided you're a good fit and this is something you really want to do, then you'll engage in your 45-minute wellness intake. There's no assessments or formal diagnoses because this is not the same thing as being in your weekly therapy sessions with your therapist. So then you'll after your kind of your wellness where you're setting the intent, your 45-minute wellness, your intake, you're setting up your intentions for what you're going to work on in your anxiety intensive. You'll be provided with an anxiety workbook, and then that's during that time, that's when you're gonna once you have already done your wellness intake and you've got your anxiety workbook, then you're going to get ready for your wellness intensive. So if it's one of our shorter ones that I'm going to tell you about, then it's a little bit different format because you'll have continuous ones. But if you're engaging in just one of our big wellnesses, which is wellness intensive, which is either 1 3 hour or one all day or several consecutive days, it is a little bit of a different experience. But for your wellness experience, whether you're doing 90 minutes, 3 hours, there is a very similar setup. So I do want to tell you that a reminder that the wellness intensive is different from a counseling in the fact that you're not receiving any form of mental health screenings, assessments, or treatment or diagnosis because it is not the same thing as therapy. And so it's really great for anybody who is dealing with worry. If they're, maybe 16 and older, or they're dealing with job performance issues or struggling with worry around doing work or confidence issue or trying new things, dealing with negative mindset beliefs, and they've done therapy before, or maybe they're in therapy right now and they still feel stuck, and they still feel like they're not feeling better or getting the anxiety relief that they need. They're feeling stuck in it, right? So then a anxiety relief wellness intensive is a great fit for if that's you. Um, so they're either 90 minutes up to 3 hours or a full day, which would be 6 hours. And what we do in our anxiety wellness intensive is that we utilize brain spotting, which is a somatic form of therapy modality that we do use in a therapy session at Trice Energy, but instead we're using it in a wellness intensive. We'll use sand tray if it's in person and virtual sand tray if it's virtual. And during this intensive, you'll learn some and engage in coping skills as well as mindfulness and meditation and journaling and relaxation techniques that you'll get to be able to carry on outside of your intensive. And these wellness intensives are done in groups with groups of women. If it's in person, it's about 5 to 6. And if it's virtual, it's about 8 to 15 individuals. And remembering that if you are engaging in a virtual, you want to make sure that your internet is got a good connection so that you can get the quality services that you need. So I did talk about brain spotting. I'm looking for my I'm missing my little brain spotting one. I was going to show it to you guys, but with the brain spotting, we utilize that in the wellness intensive, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that is and brain spotting anxiety. If you've never heard about brain spotting before, again, it's a somatic therapy modality where we use our visual. Where we're looking where our gaze lines to really connect to an emotional distress in our mind or in our brain or a trigger or trauma that has been coded into us in our nervous system, our brain, and our nonverbal part of our brain. And brain spotting can really access that. Whereas traditional talk therapy stays in your thinking brain and doesn't bypass that cognitive area like brain spotting does. And so going deeper into brain spotting taps into the body's ability to heal and reduce and eliminate the impact of unresolved trauma, negative beliefs, emotional distress, worry, negative thinking, low confidence. It was created by David Gran, who was an EMDR therapist for a very long time, maybe I think it was like 12 years. And it was while he was an EMDR therapist that he discovered brain spotting back in 2003. And it's based on the idea that what's happening inside our brain is directly related to where we focus our eyes. To quote Dr. David Gran, is where you look affects how you feel. I think this is so observable when you're talking to someone and they're having a distressful emotion. You might notice, or they're feeling shame or feeling sadness, right? You'll see that their eyes will go in certain places over and over again. Just watch people when you're talking to them and you'll see. And that's kind of the premise of brain spotting is there's something about where our eyes are landing that's connected to something that hasn't been processed through. So, brain spots are these areas of the brain that contain specific emotions or thoughts. And these areas are often locked away, difficult to access, and they can be holding painful and uncomfortable or negative feelings that we've struggled to resolve, that we have maybe have talked about in therapy many, many times, and just haven't been able to get that mindset shift or get that reduction of anxiety when we face that anxiety trigger again. And so this is where brain spotting is extremely powerful. So brain spotting literally rewires the worry in the brain. It's a holistic brain body approach to wellness and emotional regulation. It allows for us to process past, present, and future worries, and at the same time, really, in the experience, and will enable the body and the brain to experience the feeling of the concern, right, or the worry, and explore where it comes from, what's underneath, what's behind the worry, and allows for our brain and body to reprocess it so that it's less activating to us, less triggering to us. So, this brain body approach allows us to experience mindset shifts, help the body regulate its nervous system to feel calm, rewire our brain on worry to be a brain more calm. So, literally, we're building new neurological connections as we rewire through the brain spotting when we're engaging in that. Okay. Oh, my slide is not going to the next area here. Ah, there we go. So you've heard about the brain spotting. I told you briefly how we use it, how we do a wellness intensive. My slides got a little bit, there we go. And so now I want to tell you about our upcoming wellness intensives. So we do have virtual and in-person ones, but I'm going to talk about the virtual ones. We have two clinicians at Trice Energy Counseling that are doing wellness intensives, and the ones that I'm going to talk about today are 90-minute ones. There are 4 sessions. So we have 2 sessions in March and 2 sessions in April. And so that would be 4 sessions in total, and each one is 90 minutes in a group of 8 women virtually. And you can go to our website or you can reach out to us to see. But here the dates are for one of our clinicians, whose name is Erica, is doing March the 6th the March 20th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. virtually. And then in April, it would be the 3rd of April and the 17th, time 6 from 7:30 p.m. And that would be the finish of her sequence for the 90-minute anxiety relief intensive for women. And then Mary is doing March the 7th and then March the 21st from 6 to 7:30 p.m. And she's doing April the 4th and the 18th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. So your investment on this opportunity to engage in a wellness intensive that to reduce your anxiety is $200 for the 4 90-minute sessions. We do have a sliding scale that ranges at $100 for the 4 sessions, all the way up to 180. And the sliding scale are first come, first serve, and a limited number. So if you are still not sure if you want to engage in a brain spotting intensive or wellness, anxiety wellness intensive, reach out to us, set up a discovery call with Erica, myself, or Mary, and we can help you see if this feels like something that's going to be beneficial for you. Please, look at our website, look at our content where you can hear some just feedback that we've gotten from clients who really love doing intensives. I used to I've been doing intensives for, gosh, this year will be 4 years of doing intensives, and most of my clients switched over to intensives because of how effective they were. Because what happens in weekly therapy sessions can be very powerful, and really working out your emotions in a safe place. But when it comes to anxiety and trauma, where we know it's living in our nervous system and there's, stored in nonverbal parts of our brain, then we can talk and talk about it, but we're not getting anywhere other than the relief of being able to process it and talk to it with someone. And that's why brain spotting allows for that deeper processing. And the longer, instead of doing the 45 minutes, you're doing 90 or 3 hours. And that gives us time to go laser focused deep into those triggers. Whereas a traditional therapy session, you've got about 45 minutes, maybe 50. You're doing your check in, right? You're kind of telling your therapist the crisis of the week or the day. And then we might be processing, talking about something and how that was handled, and what are some struggles that are going on. And then you get maybe 10 minutes to actually do some somatic release and deep down processing before your time is up and you have to schedule your next session and move on, right? And so what research has said about doing intensives is that depending on whether you do like an all day intensive or a sequential 3 hours or 90 minutes, that it really is like putting your healing on steroids. So instead of going to therapy weekly for 6 months, you're accelerating the process where you don't need as many sessions. And so, yeah. Thank you for listening and learning about our wellness intensives that we're offering here at Trice Energy Counseling. And we hope to service you and your family soon. Thanks. Okay.